Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video I will show you how to mix secondary and neutral colors from a primary palette to paint this delicate cosmos flower. So let's get started. Once again, I'm going to mix my colors ahead of time, first making a puddle of Hansa yellow. Then above that I'm going to make some phthalo blue with quinacridone rose. And I'm just adding this in small increments to the Hansa yellow to neutralize it and tone it down a little bit. This isn't quite right, so I add a little new gamboge. And I use this to adjust it to the color that I want for the center of the flower. Testing it on a scrap piece of watercolor paper, it helps make sure that it's going to look right when I add it to my painting. So I add that color right in the center on my dry paper. Just a nice transparent layer. I'm using my hair dryer to dry it, or you can just wait for it to dry. Now I want to make the purple petal color. Since I want a nice bright purple, I mix my cool colors, phthalo blue and quinacridone rose. Mix it with enough water so it has the consistency of skim milk, and that'll help make sure it stays transparent. Again, testing on my scrap paper to make sure I'm happy with the color. Also make sure that you mix enough to cover each of the petals so you don't have to remix it. I'm starting on the dry paper, painting one petal at a time. Add a little bit more water, just to thin it out a little bit. I'm going to mix another purple from the same phthalo blue and quinacridone rose, but I will make it a little more concentrated and add a little bit more rose than blue in this mix. I want to increase the contrast between the petals and the overlapped sections by darkening these overlapped areas. I start by pre-wetting them first, then I add the new purple mix to it, carefully staying within those boundaries. I'm only going to wet 2 or 3 at a time, otherwise they would start to dry before I could paint all of the sections. Now I will use my rigger brush and I will lightly and carefully paint the petal veins. I'll add the thicker, darker ones first, then fill in with the lighter, shorter, more subtle veins, and adjust as I go. For these shorter little veins, I'm just using very light, quick strokes, keeping them nice and subtle. Once I've added the veins to each petal, I go back to the darker overlap sections and just darken the brush strokes within them using the purple in full strength. Now I'm going to add some brown for the middle of the cosmos. To mix it, I start with Hansa yellow and add a little bit of the mixed purple from the last lesson to neutralize it. I need to make it nice and dark, so I adjust with a little bit more blue and rose and some new gamboge. Now I'm using my detail brush and just carefully dotting around the center area, painting negatively around the little stamens. I'm starting with the light brown mix, then while it's wet, I drop in some of the darker brown. The center of the cosmos flower is now dry, so I'm going to go over it again, adding a little more light brown to the shadow areas. I'm dragging that same color into the petals in quick light strokes. Now I'll deepen the brown by mixing French ultramarine and pyrrole red to get a very dark brown, and carefully add this to the shadow area. I'm mixing an even darker and more concentrated purple to add to the overlapped petal sections, since it seemed they needed to be a little darker to add more contrast and make the center of the petals look more transparent. To mix the green for the stem, I'm using phthalo blue and new gamboge for a warmish natural green, and just filling in the stem shape. I'm painting the shadow of the stem behind the petal using the darker purple, carefully lining up the edges. This final touch really helps the petals look even more transparent. Thank you again for joining me today. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more watercolor tips and tutorial videos. Happy painting, and I will see you next time.